I'm Angel, and today I'm going to be doing a complete recap of the Hulu original show called The Other Black Girl. Now, this is just a recap, so obviously I can't fit in every funny, interesting, cool thing that the show does. So, if you enjoy this recap, then you should definitely head over to Hulu and watch the entire season of The Other Black Girl, because the entire first season, episodes 1 through 10, are all up right now. And lastly, I cannot believe I have to say this, but this is a recap once again, so spoiler alert. Okay, now that we got that out the way, let's just dive straight into it. We're going to go through episodes 1 all the way through 10, and obviously we're going to start with episode 1. So let's go. This is just a really quick side note. My microphone glitches out a little wee tiny bit here and there, but I end up fixing the settings on my microphone, so just stick around. Don't worry, it'll go away. All right, now picture this in your minds. The scene starts in a flashback to around the late 80s, where a black girl named Kendra is being haunted by something as she leaves her job at Wagner Books. She's being chased down by something invisible, and the lights, they keep flashing, and she's trying to press this button for this stupid elevator. Finally, the elevator comes, and she's on the train ride home. But even on the train ride, she can see people creepily hovering over her. And her scalp, it's bleeding. Cut to, it's now current day's time. Nella wakes up. Kendra being haunted was just a dream. Nella is a black female worker at Wagner Books today, in today's current time. Nella arrives at work. On the Wagner Hall of Fame, she sees mostly all white men's photos, a sprinkle of white women, and then, at last, she sees Kendra's photo. Kendra, the girl who was just being haunted in the last scene? Yes. She sees Kendra's photo. Kendra, the only person of color whose picture is on the Wagner Hall of Fame. Nella straightens the picture and smiles. Nella is currently an assistant, but hopes to become an editor. Her boss, Vera, goes down the list of tasks that she needed Nella to complete. And Nella happily checks each one off the list, like, yep, check, 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 check. Did that too. Got it. And then there's one last task. Vera asks Nella, did you read Colin's book? Nella's smile drops. Oh, you mean the book with Trisha? Yep, I read it. Great. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it later. Nella leaves Vera's office, slightly annoyed. Back at Nella's cubicle, her Asian friend, aka the only other minority, who sits at the cubicle next to her, is leaving for law school. Ugh. The next day, Nella walks into work and she's being watched. She's being watched by, well, for right now, we'll just call her Mysterious Girl. Remember her. Nella feels her presence for a second. Then she brushes it off and continues walking. Once back at her cubicle, Nella notices someone someone new must be at the cubicle next to her. That's when Nella is introduced to Hazel, the other black girl. Once Nella sees Hazel, she can't help but smile. Finally, there's someone relatable in the building. Not only that, but they'll be working close to each other too. As soon as Nella meets Hazel, Hazel gives off vibes that she has all the cool, stereotypical black things, Like, for instance, she's just totally down to earth. She's relatable. She was born and raised in Harlem. She enjoys kicking it to Little Baby's music. And not to mention, this girl is so freaking cute. She is the tiniest, cutest little thing. And she even dresses like a complete fashionista. Hazel, she gives off extra friendly, sweetheart, bestie vibes. She seems like the person who walks in a room and 5 minutes later, everyone in there just loves her. For me personally, anyway, she almost seems so good at being this perfectly lovable person that something seems phony about it. Cut to that night, Nella is at the bar with her best friend, Malika. Malika she's very much a cool, funny, always looking out for you, around the way type of girl. Nella is also at the bar with her boyfriend, Owen. Owen's really cool. He's a school teacher, and he seems like a genuinely good guy. Anyways, Nella informs them both that there is finally another black girl at Wagner Books. Malika is so happy for Nella. Nella's boyfriend, Owen, he's white, but he's not stupid. He completely understands exactly why Nella would be happy about the news of Hazel. And he even suggested inviting Hazel over for dinner. Cut to Nella is back at work, and her boss, Vera, is telling her that she may be getting a promotion to assistant editor. Now, remember the book that Vera asked Nella to read? Well, she also wants Nella's input on it. Nella hesitates. Then she just says her honest thoughts. Well, there's only one black character in the entire book, and she has every single negative black stereotype there is. Her name is Chartrisha, for crying out loud. She doesn't know her baby daddy's name. All her friends are crack addicts, and all of this is being written by a white man? The black readers won't like it. Vera responds, "Oh, okay. Thanks for telling me. Now, here's what I need you to do. Tell the author, Colin, that you love the book." Because Colin's books, they keep a lot of money coming into this company. So we don't want to lose him, okay? Great. Whew. Cut to Nella and Hazel are in the restroom alone. Nella nervously asks Hazel, "Is it weird to say that it's really nice that you're here?" Hazel responds with complete understanding. She totally gets what Nella is saying. Nella laughs and she sighs in relief. Afterwards, they take their lunch break together, where they discover that Burning Heart is both of their favorite books. FYI, Burning Heart was edited by Kendra, the girl who we saw was being haunted in the flashback. And, okay, so it was edited by her, and it was written by Kendra's best friend, Diana. Okay, but anyways, so they both find out that Burning Heart is both their favorite books. After lunch, Hazel can tell that Nella is stressing about something, and she pressures Nella for details. Nella caves, and she tells Hazel about Colin's racist book about Chartricia and the opioid epidemic. Did I say that right? Opioid? Opiate? Okay. But she tells him about Colin's racist book. Hazel tells Nella, if the book is wrong, you should tell him the truth. And if it helps, I'll even back you up. When the time is right, just say it. Just then, Colin, who wrote the terrible book, walks in. Everyone starts toasting and celebrating his new book. And to her surprise, Nella finds out that Hazel already read the book. Huh, that's interesting. Colin asks Hazel, okay, well, since you've read my book, tell me your opinion on my baby. Instead of answering, Hazel puts the heat on Nella. Well, Nella told me she had some thoughts. So they all look at Nella. She starts off explaining everything nice and vague, but Hazel, she gives her a reassuring nod. So Nella continues. But Chartricia hits on a lot of negative Black stereotypes, and that's dangerous. The room goes silent. So Nella stares back at Hazel, and she continues. And I know lots of other people feel the same way. So now they all focus back on the only other Black girl in the building, Hazel. Well, okay, Hazel, tell us your thoughts then. Well, I really liked your book. It's gripping. Chartricia, she has potential. It reads so well that I want to read it again. Colin thanks Hazel, and then he throws some passive-aggressive shade at Nella and walks off. Nella's boss, Vera, gives her a look that just says, "What did I just tell you to say just this morning?" Vera tells Nella to meet her in her office first thing tomorrow. The big boss, Wagner of Wagner Books himself, tells Hazel on her first day that he'd love for her to write an editorial letter for Colin's book. Then he leads her to his office, leaving Nella there alone, pissed and played. That day, Nella pulled an all-nighter. It's very late at night when she finally leaves work, and she's clearly the only one in the building. But she pulls a note out of her pocket, and on it, written in purple marker, says, "Leave Wagner now." Just then, the copy machine starts running by itself. The lights start turning off one by one. Nella runs to the elevator. Once inside, the lights in there, they flicker. When they stop, she looks at her reflection in the shiny elevator doors. And she sees what looks to be Kendra, the girl who was being haunted in the flashback. Yeah, she sees Kendra staring back at her in her reflection. Then the lights flicker again, and it's just her reflection now. And that is the end of episode 1. If you're ready, let's continue to episode 2. If you're not ready, look at the time, remember where you left off, and come back later. Okay, let's begin on episode 2. Just like in episode 1, episode 2 starts off with Nella having a Wagner nightmare. In the dream, Nella is walking down the Wagner Hall of Fame. You know, the one with the photos of mostly white men and then the one picture of Kendra. So she's walking down the Wagner Hall of Fame, and then she turns the corner. But she's back in the same hall. She runs and she runs and she runs and she runs, but only to keep turning down this same hall. So she finally just stops. Kendra's smiling picture turns into a serious glare. And Kendra yells, "Leave Wagner now!" Then all of the people and all of the pictures begin yelling, "Leave Wagner now! Leave Wagner now! Leave Wagner now! Leave Wagner now!" Then, Nella wakes up. In the morning, Nella is obviously worried about getting fired for being honest about Colin's book. But she goes into work anyway. She goes into work only to find out as soon as she walks in the door that perfect little Hazel threw everyone at the office a surprise party. She has cool music softly playing in the conference room. She's got everyone these amazingly delicious pastry treats from this awesome bakery in her hometown of Harlem, and everyone thinks that Hazel is just so rad. Nella just leaves the room. But as soon as she does, Hazel is on the other side of the door. And of course, she is being fake as ever. "Hey, sis, have a pastry and an iced latte." Really? You just set me up on your first day, and now you're acting dumb and innocent? No, I said I'd have your back when the time was right. And my first day just wasn't the right time. Side note, I call BS on that because if you remember, Hazel was asked about Colin's book first. And if she knew that she wasn't going to speak up, that would have been the perfect time and the perfect chance to let it be known before Nella spoke up. But instead, she pushed for Nella to answer first and then said her positive review afterwards, thus purposely throwing Nella under the bus. Whew, okay. Anyways, after Hazel says that, Nella is then called into her boss's office. Not Wagner, the big boss, but Vera. Because remember, she said she would meet with her the first thing in the morning. Okay, so she's called into her office. Once she's in there, Nella finds out that her chance at a promotion, it's done. It's gone. It's not going to happen. But Vera doesn't fire her. Instead, Nella is told to kiss Colin's butt and give him an apology. But Nella has another idea. She suggests having a professional sensitivity reader read the book before it's published, and therefore possibly saving their butts. Vera's answer is a hard no, and she reinstates that Nella will apologize. That night, Nella works overnight again. While there, she gets haunted again. There's a quick flash of a person running past. She grabs a stapler as a weapon. And the shadow person led her to an old archives closet that has been mysteriously opened. So she walks in and she starts exploring. And she finds a box from Burning Heart, her favorite book. She goes through this box so happy that she found this stuff. She's so ecstatic to find this box that the next day she walks into work on top of the world until Hazel tries to be fake again. OMG! Did someone get an extra shot in her coffee this morning? Ugh. Nella just ignores her. Nella goes into Vera's office with the grand idea that just in time for the 35th anniversary of Burning Heart, they do a re-release of the book. Nella already has a profit, a breakdown, and a possible new cover image that can all be added. And the best part of Nella's grand idea is getting the actual Kendra involved in it. And then Vera shuts her down. Kendra hasn't been seen since the book's release 35 years ago. Sorry, Nella, but this is not going to get you out of apologizing to Colin. Dang. Cut to Nella is alone, crying in the restroom. And Hazel follows her in. Nella asks, Hazel, could you please just leave me alone? Obviously, you've already done enough. Then Hazel says, I personally understand your viewpoint, Nella. There was this other black girl at my last job who hated me and didn't look out for me like we're supposed to, you know? And also, And also, I tried to tell Colin the truth about his book, just in a different way. But that way left you hanging. And I'm sorry. But maybe there's still a chance for you to do something. Nella says, do something like what? Like a sensitivity read? He says, oh my gosh, yes, a sensitivity read. That is a great idea. Nella just stops her. Well, I already suggested that, and Vera shut it down. So I still have to do this apology. Hazel says, you shouldn't have to apologize for standing up for what you believe in. Hearing that just, guys, it struck something in Nella. And in tears, Nella says, thank you. I really appreciate you for saying that. Then Hazel reassures Nella that from now on, she really will have her back. Later, while Nella is back at her cubicle, Vera and Colin approach her. Vera asks, "Isn't there something you wanted to tell Colin?" It takes a moment, but Nella digs deep and apologizes in front of everyone for her opinion on his book. It left her feeling defeated, like she gave up. Just then, a vision of Kendra stands in front of Nella, and she asks, "What are you going to do now?" Nella gasps in shock. Then Kendra disappears. In response to Kendra's question, Nella decides that what she's going to do now is go on a whim and write her favorite podcaster, Jesse, a message. She's going to write him a message about him possibly writing a book. Now, I didn't mention this before, but there was a quick scene of Nella listening to Jesse's podcast. Jesse is a Black guy, and he was on his podcast, he was talking about being unapologetically yourself, standing 10 toes down in what you believe, and never being fake for anyone, because you can never please everyone anyway. So just be yourself. I mean, he's just a very strong and proud guy who gives Nella a daily confidence boost. So she sends the message to him. Just then, Nella is called into a meeting about Colin's book. At the end of the meeting, Vera suggests a sensitivity reading. The big boss, Wagner, loves the idea. Nella is pissed, obviously, but she says nothing. However, Hazel speaks up. Excuse me, Vera, but wasn't the sensitivity reading Nella's idea? Vera replies, "Oh, yeah, I forgot. I mean, we work so closely together. It's like a mind melt. I mean, I can't tell who came up with what, but yeah, you're right. Thank you, Nella, for the great idea." Nella and Hazel give each other a reassuring nod and smile. They're definitely friends again now. After this roller coaster of emotions day, Nella comes home to her boyfriend, Owen, and he just comforts her with a kiss, and he holds her. Then the camera pans outside the window, and there is Hazel at night in a small dark alley, staring up at them. Her eyes are full of tears, and she has a stone-cold expression. And that is the end of episode 2. If you're ready, let's continue to episode 3. Episode 3 begins with a flashback of the creators of the famous book Burning Heart, Kendra and Diana. They're teenagers. It's in the 70s. Kendra is talking about what she's going to do when she leaves for Harvard soon. Diana is clearly going to miss her best... Sorry, my arm. Okay. Diana is clearly going to miss her best friend. But Diana always knew that she wanted to write. Kendra, however, needed to get away to college and figure out what she wanted. Okay, so Kendra goes off to college. Now we can see after college. It's 1985, and we see that Kendra is now working at Wagner Books. Her best friend Diana surprises her by showing up to her job with sandwiches. Kendra is very uptight. She's by the books, and she takes great concern with her image at work. While Diana, on the other hand, still has this young, free spirit, Just then, while Diana is holding up her homemade sandwiches, a young Mr. Wagner walks by. Diana says, Kendra, is that your boss? Diana, yes, that's him, but please don't. Wagner! Diana introduces herself as a writer and ends up getting Wagner to invite her and Kendra to lunch with him. Cut to Nella leaves her apartment to find that Hazel has left a manuscript on her front door. It's a manuscript that Nella accidentally left at work that she was supposed to read, so it does save her butt, but maybe it seems a little bit too nice, considering that Hazel lives over an hour train ride away. At work that day, Hazel tries to talk Nella into going to a party that they weren't invited to, but there would be a bunch of elite people there, the type of people who it would be good to rub elbows with if you want to have a good book written. But Nella has to work, and she doesn't even have the right clothes. But Hazel takes care of all of that. She schemes a way to make Vera let Nella take the rest of the day off, and she has spare clothes for Nella. In the work restroom, before they leave for the party, Hazel gives Nella a makeover that almost makes her look like a miniature version of her. Then Nella notices that Hazel's scalp is bleeding. Hazel brushes it off. I'm fine. Just wait downstairs and we'll go to the party. Later, at the party, Hazel walks straight up to some strange guy. She gives him a big hug like she knows him, and it worked. They got into the party. While Hazel is off effortlessly mingling with people, Nella decides she's going to try too. And she ends up introducing herself to the producer of Jessie, her favorite podcaster. Nella tells her about the message that she sent Jessie regarding writing a book. And the producer, who is a black woman, the producer says she agrees that Jessie would make an amazing book, but not at Wagner Books. Because Wagner hasn't had a black editor in a million years. She wishes Nella luck and walks away. Nella gives it some time. Then she tries again with a new person. She introduces herself as an editor. And her boss, Mr. Wagner, walks up behind her. He pulls her aside for a chat. Really, Nella? You impersonated an editor? I'm really sorry, sir. That is the ballsiest thing I've ever seen you do. So, go on. Tell me about your first project. Nella begins telling him about her idea of a re-release of Burning Heart and bringing Kendra on board. Then Wagner gets visibly upset and tells Nella that Kendra will be impossible because she took her own life, and that the whole "she just went off the grid" narrative is BS. Nella apologizes and says, "But shouldn't we do a re-release of the book in honor of her memory then?" Wagner says that Nella reminds him of Kendra, and he says that they'll talk about it in his office in the morning. As Nella and Hazel are leaving the party, they hop into a taxi cab to grab some food together. There's a car behind them, though, watching them get into the taxi. It's Wagner, and he's on the phone. He tells the person on the other end, "Things have changed. I need you." And that is the end of episode 3. Now, let's continue to episode 4. Episode 4 begins with Nella and her best friend Malika having girl time. Malika can't believe that Nella let Hazel give her a makeover when Malika has been trying to do Nella's eyebrows since forever, and Nella still hasn't let her. Nella then suggests that they all hang out. Ugh, fine. But FYI, Wagner would have loved your idea even without Hazel's little makeover. As the best friends continue walking and talking, oof! Nella gets shoulder checked by Mysterious Girl. Remember her? The girl who was watching her at work earlier? Well, now she just bumps her in the shoulder. But this time, Nella stares and gets a good look at her before moving on. Cut to Nella's at work, and she invites Hazel out with her boyfriend Owen, and Malika. And of course, Hazel agrees. Then Vera calls Nella into her office so they can go over Colin's sensitivity read. And Vera states that if they take out all the suggestions that the sensitivity reader suggested, there won't be any book left in time for the release date. Nella then volunteers to write a memo of all the things that the sensitivity reader flagged to get everyone's thoughts. Then Nella is called into Wagner's office. She walks into his office, they greet each other, and then he says, "Nella, how would you like to meet Diana?" You mean the writer of my favorite book, Diana? Oh my God. I hope I don't throw up on myself from excitement. "Oh, please don't do that, darling." Nella turns around, and there, sitting on the couch behind her, is the Diana. FYI, Diana is being played by Garcelle Beauvais. Yes, the one who played Fancy in the Jamie Foxx show, and she was in Coming to America 1 and 2. And she still looks good. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm an actress, so I can appreciate her. Oh, by the way, I'm an actress, and if you want to see some of my acting work, or if you know somebody who's looking for an actress, hey, maybe I might get an acting gig, I'm going to put the link to my acting site in the description box. But anyways, Garcelle Beauvais, she's playing Diana. Okay. I'm done fangirling, I think. Yes, I'm done fangirling. But she's the bomb. Okay. So there, sitting on the couch behind her is the Diana. So, Diana must have been the person that Wagner called when he was on the phone stalking Nella and Hazel get into the taxi cab. They don't say that, but I mean, obviously, it must have been her, right? Anyways, Diana may be bringing her next project to Wagner. So, they all have a meeting to discuss possible book ideas. And all the ideas are just no, thank you, nope, not, no, thank you, no. And then Nella pitches her idea on a re-release of Burning Heart. Diana loves the idea. It's so smart. It's the best suggestion made. But Burning Heart brings up too many painful feelings. Sorry. Oh. But in private, Diana reminds Nella that she still had the best idea and she has lots of potential that just needs a little polish. Nella lets it be known that she is open to any and all advice from Diana. In response, Diana invites Nella over to her place. And of course, Nella happily accepts. While at Diana's house, Nella is just having a great time, for the most part. Well, there was a moment she heard a ghost-like voice calling her name. And then, Nella, everything okay? Diana is back with a photo book full of memories of her and Kendra. As Nella is looking through the photo book, she's just like, whoa, these are some amazing photos of you two. You should write a memoir. You know, I've always wanted to, but I've never had an editor I could trust until now. So maybe this is something we could do together. Let's discuss it with Wagner on Monday. Meanwhile, while Nella is having a blast at Diana's, Malika, Owen, and Hazel are together at the dinner that Nella planned. They're waiting for Nella to get back so she could tell them all about her great time at Diana's house. And Owen, he is being a very polite host to Hazel. Malika, however, she is grilling Hazel hard. Think like a very overprotective dad questioning his teenage daughter's first boyfriend. Yeah, like that. Finally, Nella is back, and she's telling them how she had a great time at Diana's and how she's so happy to see her two friends becoming friends. Hazel smiles and agrees, like, yeah, like, Malika, I love your TLC shirt. TLC is one of my favorites of all time. Then Owen notices that, oh crap, they're out of wine. So Nella suggests that her and Owen both go together to go get some more wine. That way, Hazel and Malika can get a chance to be alone and bond even more. The second they walk out, Malika turns away from Hazel, and she turns up the music on her phone. So yeah, Malika turns up the music on her phone, trying to tone Hazel out. And Hazel, I mean, she can definitely feel the shade, but she tries to ignore it and just try to spark up some conversation anyway. So, how long have you known Nella? Malika has no time to be fake, so she just puts it bluntly. I'm not buying your act, by the way. You nearly got Nella fired within just a few hours of knowing her for no reason. And now all of a sudden you're just the best friend anybody could have? Yeah, I totally effed up. But we moved on and uh, I'm sorry, but I don't see why you care since it's not your business. Nella is my business. Hazel nods and tries to change the subject. Ooh, yeah. Who sings this song? Who sings this song? Well, it's TLC, one of your all-time faves. Not only is TLC her favorite, but Baby, 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 which is the song she was listening to, is one of their biggest hits. So how does she not recognize this song unless she's a liar? Oh, wait. Oh, duh. Yeah, this sure is TLC. No, yeah, I totally hear it now. Yeah, it's TLC. When Nella and Owen get back, Malika asks to speak with Nella privately. She tells Nella about her feelings towards Hazel and how she does not get positive vibes from her. But Nella gets frustrated and she suggests that Malika leave. So Malika makes her a to-go plate because she has been waiting all night for that food. And after she makes her plate, she leaves with pride. After a long while and after several failed texting attempts, Nella just shows up to Malika's job at the beauty salon with a cup of coffee to hopefully just make up. And, of course, they make up. And just to make the makeup official, Nella finally lets Malika do her eyebrows. And just a side note here, I understand why Nella never got her eyebrows done, okay? I've never gotten my eyebrows done either, and it's a lifesaver. Why would I shave off my eyebrows just to spend 15 minutes every morning drawing them back on? You want to know my morning routine for doing my eyebrows? I wake up, my eyebrows are out of shape. I take my finger, I go up, and then I go down at the bottom part, and my eyebrows are done in 2 seconds. So why would I shave it off to only have to spend 2 seconds and turn that into 15 minutes? Why would I do that? I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry for the interruption. All I'm saying is I understand why Nella never got her eyebrows done. But I'm sure Malika is great at eyebrows. Okay. Anyways, they're back to being friends. When Nella is at work, she's discussing Diana's memoir along with Diana. And then Nella asks Diana to bring Hazel on board too. Diana's confused. Like, Nella, this is your big moment. You want to bring in somebody else? Okay, now, I didn't mention this before, but earlier on, Nella and Hazel had this agreement that they weren't going to be like their bosses, Vera and Maisie, who hate each other because they see each other as competition. Instead, they were going to see each other as when one shines, the other will also shine. So anyways, Diana agrees to bring Hazel on board too. When Nella and Hazel are back at their cubicles, Nella tells Hazel the great news about how she convinced Diana to let Hazel on board with the project too. And Hazel just politely smiles and says, "Oh, thank you." Just then, while they're talking, Nella's boss, Vera, interrupts them. She doesn't bother to pull Nella aside. She just tells Nella right in front of Hazel to cancel the sensitivity reading memo because she decided that she instead would just invite Colin out to dinner and just butter him up. After work, Hazel stops by Malika's job at the beauty salon. Oh, wow! I didn't know you worked here. Really? Because you only asked me 4 times at dinner. I'm warning you. Don't try it with me, Hazel. Oh, Malika! No. Look, you got it all wrong. You see, I'm the one who's not to be effed with. Yeah, me and Nella, we're good friends now. So you better pipe down and accept it. Oh my gosh! My hairstylist is ready for me now. Well, bye, girlfriend. Weird. Cut to Nella is on the subway train, and mysterious girl grabs her shoulder. She sits next to Nella, and she says, her name isn't Hazel, it's Eva. She shoves a note into Nella's purse and dashes off before Nella can stop her. Nella opens the note, and written on it in purple marker, so mysterious girl is the one who wrote the first note that said, leave Wagner now. Anyways, on the second note, it says, tomorrow, 5 p.m., 742 Perry Street. And that is the end of episode 4. If you're ready, let's continue to episode 5. Episode 5 begins with the montage. We can see that in the past, leading up till now, that mysterious girl has been getting up at 5:30 a.m. every single day just to stalk Nella as she goes into work at Wagner Books. Cut to its current day. As soon as Nella walks into work, she is rushed into Vera's office, where she finds out that Colin's terrible book was leaked. They don't know by who, but Vera thinks it could have been the sensitivity reader. Vera shows just how bad the public response was to the book by showing her all the articles and all the memes that were made about Wagner just within the past few hours. On the long list of people who canceled Wagner is Nella's favorite podcaster, Jesse. Nella agrees to try and help Vera clean up the mess, and she gathers everyone together for a meeting led by Vera. On top of that, Nella also has to pick up Hazel's slack too because Hazel called off. In the meeting, while Nella is handing out everyone their coffee, Vera announces that they will all write Colin a public apology. A few people disagree with this idea, including Nella, who whispers it under her breath. When Vera calls Nella out on it, Nella speaks up and she explains that no one will believe that Colin is actually sorry and that they need to be apologizing on behalf of Wagner and their department. And lastly, they should cancel the book's release. Vera objects. No. The book has to be released to save people's jobs. Nella interjects that by saying, if Vera cared about people and their jobs, then Vera wouldn't have buried the sensitivity read to where now they could all lose their jobs anyway. Vera is shocked that Nella actually had the balls to say that to her. And Vera fires Nella. Just then, Wagner and Hazel walk into the meeting together. Wagner says, Nella isn't going anywhere. In fact, we will be canceling Colin's book. Vera says, Whoa, what? But you told me just this morning to save the book. Well, things have changed. After listening to people's concerns, also, this company's values and image needs a change. And we most certainly shouldn't be hiding negative sensitivity reads. Wagner then fires Vera. Vera loses it for a moment. What the actual fuck? Then, she tries to collect herself so she can leave as dignified as she possibly can in this moment. Which, side note, this is actually, it's kind of sad for me. I mean, I know this is just a recap, so you hear how Vera ignored racism for money, tried to steal Nella's idea, and then tried to fire Nella. But, I mean, I don't know. I know she tried to steal Nella's credit and everything, but if you actually watch the show, Vera actually comes off as kind of a likable, relatable person. And I can't even explain how, because there's nothing that I'm leaving out, nothing like actually sweet that she did that I just didn't say. It's just, I don't know. For me, this moment isn't actually like a woohoo moment. But anyway, Vera gets fired. She's upset, but she tries to regain her dignity, and she leaves the building. After she leaves, Wagner then takes lead of the meeting and announces that they will be doing Nella's idea for a re-release of Burning Heart, and that Nella and Hazel will be assistant editors. Later, while they're celebrating the great news and they're celebrating someone's birthday party in the office, Colin walks into the building, and he is very upset. What? Why are you partying? What the heck is going on? My books pay for everything in this MFer. Wagner then thanks Colin for making it easier for him to inform him that he is no longer a Wagner author. And then he asks for someone to call security, in which Nella quickly and happily accepts that offer. After work, Hazel informs Nella that she was the one who told Wagner about the sensitivity read, knowing that he would probably fire Vera because someone had to take the fall. As they continue to walk and talk, Hazel admits to telling pointless lies to her coworkers and says, "Sometimes you just have to pretend to be who they want you to be. I mean, right?" But something about that just rubbed Nella the wrong way. So even though Nella promised Malika and Owen that she would not meet up with Mysterious Girl, she kind of wants to know what she has to say now. So Nella goes to where Mysterious Girl said. It's an empty, forgotten area of the city. She walks in a sketchy-looking door, and inside, it's dark. And there's a goth girl sitting there who says, "Name?" "Oh, Nella?" "This way." She leads Nella down a narrow, dimly lit hall made of stones with pipes all over. "This is your room. Enjoy." It's a secret karaoke bar. Nella patiently waits for Mysterious Girl. But as Mysterious Girl reaches the building, a black van pulls up behind her. People jump out, they shove her inside, and they pull off. And this is the end of episode 5. If you're ready, let's continue to episode 6. This episode starts with Nella arriving home, and Malika and Owen are waiting by the door for her, worried. "Where were you? You went to meet up with that dangerous, mysterious girl, didn't you?" "Guys, relax. She didn't even show up. I just sat there listening to some very sad dentist sing Lady in Red for 45 minutes. Nella decides to just let the whole thing go because she has more important things to focus on right now. The next day, Nella is ready to go. She has her notebook in her hand and she reads off some ideas to Wagner. I have a few people in mind that I think would be great clients to have. There's this girl, she's a horror writer, or there's this guy. He does a mashup of sci-fi political commentary. Wagner interrupts her. "How about Jesse, Nella's favorite podcaster? You're a big fan of his, right? So get him." "Oh, with all due respect, sir, I don't think that'll happen. Ever since Colin's book got leaked, Jesse has been all over the news, canceling Wagner." "Good. We need someone like him to call out Wagner on his BS, just like you did. Which is why you're the perfect person to go get him. You and Jesse are so much alike. So if you believe in Wagner, then you can make him believe in Wagner too." Nella is excited about the idea of working with Jesse, obviously, but nervous because she knows it's a slim to none chance. So now the pressure is on her like crazy. So much so that while she's in the meeting with Diana and Hazel to explore possible book cover ideas for the re-release of Burning Heart, she is barely paying attention, which leaves a very bad impression on Diana. Well, Hazel and I can just make the decisions, since Nella's head is elsewhere. When Hazel asks Nella what is going on and why did she seem so distracted with Diana, Nella, who usually tells Hazel everything, this time decided not to tell her about Jesse and instead tried to play it off. Hazel is still suspicious, though. So she goes to Nella's boyfriend, Owen. She goes to his job at the school. At first, she tries to play it off like she's just there to get his school to work with her charity. But then she admits that she's also there because Nella has been acting off and she wanted to know if Owen knew anything. That night, Owen obviously tells Nella about Hazel's visit. And that night, Nella also gets a package with no indication of who sent it. Inside is an original manuscript of Burning Heart with an alternative ending. And there's also original handwritten notes in there. Nella assumes it must be from Diana. It must be like Diana's way of saying that she's not mad at Nella at all. She just wants Nella to work harder. The next morning, Nella receives an email from Jesse's producer. And to her surprise, it says that Jesse is willing to connect. Of course, Nella accepts and plans to meet with him that day. Before she meets with him, Nella meets up with Diana at work and says, "Thank you so much for the gift." Gift? Yeah, the original manuscript of Burning Heart. Look, the published ending of the book was great, but the original ending, with Evie being murdered by her abusive lover, was so much more dynamic and tragic, and I think we should do a re-release with that ending. Sorry, Nella, but this book is my baby. I need to think about this one. Nella looks defeated, but Diana knows how to fix that problem quick and easy. She just simply says, "You're very good at your job." And Nella starts cheesing ear to ear like a giddy little schoolgirl. That was easy. Then Nella meets up with Jesse at a coffee shop. Side note, Jesse is really cute. Okay, he's played by this actor named Langston Kerman. He's cute. Okay. Anyway, she meets at the coffee shop with Jesse. And Nella informs Jesse that Wagner is rebranding their image. And they are willing to pay anything. Just name the price and they'll double it. So, you'll think about it? Oh, absolutely effing not. You came here knowing that I'd turn you down, but you were still willing to embarrass yourself just to try. You have great ambition, and I have job openings at my show. Wink, wink. I'm sorry, but Diana means a lot to me, and I believe in the work that I'm doing at Wagner. Do you think that Wagner would be willing to embarrass themselves on your behalf like you just did for them? How much longer are you going to be willing to compromise yourself for a paycheck? Call me when you've grown a spine. He pays for their drinks and leaves. When Nella returns to work, she confronts Diana with a note that she found in the original manuscript. And the note has, she believes, she's sure of it, it has something to do with the changing of the ending. And Diana confesses that her and Kendra both loved the original ending too. But Wagner, well, basically thought that it'd be too much for white people. Kendra and Diana, they were pissed. But Diana, she had to convince herself that doing this different ending would be something good for the black writers who were coming after her. However, Kendra, she still hated Wagner for what he did. Nella tells Diana in a heartfelt speech about how now is finally the time to release that original ending and to stop compromising. Diana agrees and says, "Let's do it." Diana tells Wagner that she never should have listened to him, and that from now on, they're doing things her way. Meanwhile, that day, Malika was hanging out with Owen, and she was proving to him that Hazel is a liar. They look up Hazel's charity, and Hazel nor Eva are mentioned. Malika says, that's a red flag. Then they pull up Hazel's Instagram, and it only goes back 1 year. And Malika says, see? Another red flag. Then Malika notices that on Hazel's Instagram, she keeps only tagging one guy in her photos. He's a barber, so Malika thinks he may be Hazel's boyfriend, and she decides to go pay him a visit. And Malika also drags Owen along with her. They pretend to be lovers, and when Owen sits in the barber's chair, the barber asks Malika, are you going to stand there the whole time while your boyfriend gets his haircut? Well, we're just inseparable. Oh, how about you? Do you have a lover? Yeah, for about a year now. A year? So you knew her while she was in Boston? In shock, the barber accidentally butchers a line into Owen's haircut. Oh, I never said anything about Boston. Me nor my girl know anything about Boston. Are you that Shawnee girl? Get out, now! They leave. Malika and Owen video call Nella during her lunch break and tell her about what happened with Hazel's boyfriend and how something sketchy happened in Boston. Malika wants Nella to call Hazel out for being a scammer. Nella agrees to say something, but nothing major. So she could give Hazel a chance to explain herself. So after work, Nella catches up with Hazel. Hey, can I ask you something kind of crazy? Okay, have you ever gone by the name Eva? Hazel gets frantically scared and asks, did a girl with a scar tell you this? FYI, just really quick here. Apparently, the girl with the scar is Mysterious Girl. I never mentioned the scar because I honestly never noticed the scar. The only feature I ever noticed, the only feature on Mysterious Girl that ever stood out to me was that the hair department on the show just did a terrible job on giving her a wig. So Mystery Girl has this very low-cut, wavy hairstyle, but because there's hair under the wig couldn't lay all the way flat, so it just looks very, really not believable. It's just a terrible wig, and that's the only feature I noticed. So that's why I didn't mention the scar. But anyways, so she asks, did a girl with a scar on her face tell you this? Hazel is shaking in fear. Please don't tell me that you told her anything about me. She's Shawnee. I told you a girl at my last job hated me, and that's her, Shawnee. I don't know what I'm going to do. Last time, the police couldn't even help. That's why I had to move to a new city and change my name. How could you, Nella? If someone were possibly stalking you, I'd be a good friend and tell you. Hazel gets home quickly as she can. She quickly locks all of her doors and her windows, and she peeks out the curtains to make sure she's not being watched. She goes upstairs into a dark room. And when she hits the lights, there is Mysterious Girl, scared and handcuffed to a metal pipe. Hazel looks down at her while she sits on the floor. You should have left me alone. And that is the end of episode 6. If you're ready, let's continue to episode 7. Episode 7 begins with Hazel waking up in the morning, cooking, and then going into the room that mysterious girl slash Shawnee is chained up in. And she begins spoon feeding Shawnee, or mysterious girl, from the plate that she cooked. Later, Nella walks into work ready to lead her first marketing meeting. And on her way into the meeting room, she runs into Hazel. She smiles and greets her. "Hey, Hazel." But Hazel just gives her a quick and dry "Hi," and walks away before Nella can say anything else. Nella ends the successful meeting. She ends it off with suggesting that a percentage of the sales from the re-release of the book should go to the charity that Hazel said was hers. Hazel looks deeply touched and shocked. "Thank you, Nella. That was amazing of you. And it's going to mean so much to those kids. Look, let's put everything behind us, okay?" Then Hazel invites Nella over to her place for a small hair party. I'm guessing it's similar to a Mary Kay party, where everyone does their makeups together and they bond, but they're doing their hair. So yeah, Hazel invites Nella over to her place for a small hair party, and Nella accepts. However, because Malika still does not trust Hazel, she refuses to let Nella go to that party alone, so she tags along. Plus, she wants proof that she is right about Hazel. Malika also makes sure to share her location with Owen and lets him know that she will contact him if she needs backup. Once at the party, little strange, awkward things keep happening. Like, for instance, when Hazel greets Nella with a hug, all of the lights in her apartment flicker for about 2 seconds. And at the same time as they flicker, all of Hazel's friends discreetly make the neck slice motion, like that. Then Hazel introduces her 3 all very successful friends, who are all black women, by the way, and mentions that one more girl named Ruby Crawford will be joining too. Malika gets nervous. Ruby is her nut job ex-girlfriend who stalked, followed, and threatened to murder her. Malika feels like Hazel is trying to set her up, because what are the chances that her ex and Hazel are friends when her ex is nothing like Hazel's other friends? All of Hazel's other friends are very intelligent girls, and Malika's ex was a loony in the head. But before Malika can leave, her ex enters. And although she's still not the brightest person, she's actually very friendly and happy to see Malika, convincing Malika that this girl is some kind of robot for Hazel. Meanwhile, while Malika is trying to figure out what Hazel has done to her ex, Nella is in the other room with all the other girls, and she's sitting underneath Hazel in a position to get her hair done. So she's sitting on the floor, Hazel's sitting on the couch, and it's like she's about to get her hair done, because she is. Hazel tells Nella that she fits right in with all her other friends so well, and she will officially be a part of their crew once she does her hair. Nella agrees to let Hazel do her hair. And Nella starts to melt into the massage on her scalp. You know how that feels when somebody's massaging your scalp. Oh, like when you're in the shampoo bowl at that nail salon. So she just starts to melt and drift away. This feels so good. It brings her back to the good old days when her mom greased her scalp. Okay, I'm going to make a quick side note here because not everybody's going to know what this is. If you're not black, you probably don't know what grease is. And if you do, that's great. Good for you. But I know me personally, I've had white friends come up to me and they're like, is it true that you guys purposely put grease into your hair? And yes, we do. Okay, I'm just going to give you a quick little note here in case you don't know about black hair. Our hair is different from other nationalities' hair. Something about the strands, you can Google it, but something about our hair strands are different. So oil, although we all produce oil, our strands are thicker or coilier or something. So the oil doesn't travel down our hair. It just stays. So our hair just doesn't get oily. If we don't oil it, it will get dry and it will break. So, okay, for me personally, if I did a science experiment right now and I washed my hair, no oil would ever come. Oil just doesn't come. And I know all the other nationalities who doesn't have like Afrocentric hair, you have to wash your hair more to stop so much oil. We have to put oil in because our hair doesn't get oily. In fact, when I put grease into my hair, it will eventually, if I leave it on there long enough, it will soak up and I'll have to put more on. I know most other nationalities, if you put grease into your hair, the only way that grease is coming out is if you wash it out. But our hair needs the oil. And so let me just show you. This is hair grease. Looks like that. I've been using it. But what you do is you part your hair like that. You take some grease on your finger and then you put it in the part. Or you can use hair oil like this and you just put the oil into your part and you make another part, you put it in there, make another part, put it in there until your entire scalp is greased. And that's what greasing your scalp is. If you already knew, great, but if you didn't, now you know. Okay. I just had to give that lesson real quick. And also, I know that there's new age people who say, oh, don't put grease in your hair. Don't put oil in your hair. It blocks your pores or whatever. And that's great for new age people. However, I believe this story is just trying to hit on something that is a staple within Black culture. And putting grease onto your scalp has been something Black people have done since the beginning of our time. So they put it in here. If you don't grease your scalp anymore, that's great. But it's such a staple. So they made it a part of the show because they wanted something that is an absolute staple of Black. Because it's called The Other Black Girl. Okay. Yeah, so anyways, Nella is sitting on the floor underneath Hazel, and Hazel is just massaging her scalp. And she just kind of drifts off into memory land, and it brings her back to the time when she sat under her mom, and her mom would part and grease her scalp. It's so heavenly. Anyways, Malika, she doesn't know what to make of her ex, but she knows something strange is going on, and she messages Owen. And then she heads back in the room to join the other girls. Malika walks in the room just at the exact moment when Hazel is about to put grease into Nella's hair. Hey! What type of strange hair grease is this? There's no label on it. Nella, I have you on a strict hair care journey, and you're going to throw it all away to put unknown ingredients into your hair? Nella agrees that Malika, She's right. Then Malika pulls Hazel away. She pulls Nella away to talk in the restroom. Everyone in the room stands up and faces Malika at the exact same time, and the lights flicker again. The Spanx are really tight. Taking them off is a two-person job. So relax. Once they get to the bathroom, Malika tries to convince Nella that Hazel is leading a cult. You gotta admit that them all standing up together like something out of a Thriller video was weird. Now please snoop around while I distract them and see if you can figure out what's going on. And I promise, if you don't find anything, I'll drop the topic forever. Nella agrees. Then Malika distracts the other girls by doing their eyebrows so Nella can snoop around. While she's snooping around, she sees a person appear behind her in Hazel's vanity mirror. In shock, she drops the jar that she had in her hand, only to turn around behind her and see nothing. She goes to pick up the jar that she dropped and notices that there's a manila envelope taped to the back of Hazel's vanity mirror. She opens it, and inside are papers. There's a paper for each of Hazel's friends. Each paper has 2 photos, a before and after. The before pictures are usually something like the girl has a partying college student, or the girl being an assistant to a bunch of white men, or something like that. And the after photos are of them as major success stories. Also, at the bottom of each paper, printed in red, says either voluntary or involuntary. As Nella flips through the pages, she finds a page for herself with only a before picture. And listed at the bottom is involuntary. She stashes the envelope under her shirt and rushes to grab Malika. Hey ladies, I got a terrible call, and now me and Malika have to go. Malika, I found something really bad. As soon as she grabs Malika, all the girls stand in a robotic unison, once again, and quickly follow them to the door. One by one, they block the door, saying things like, "Don't leave without saying goodbye. We want to help. Just tell us what's going on." Now, they have the door completely blocked. They start walking forward, forcing Malika and Nella to walk backwards. You see, I just had a surprise planned, and you didn't get to see it yet. Just keep going. You're cold, but you're getting warmer if you just keep going. As Nella and Malika are getting pushed back farther into the house, Owen finally gets Malika's message and heads their way. Back at Hazel's house, you're getting warmer. Now you're on fire. Hazel pushes them into the room that mysterious girl is chained in. Your surprise is right in here. Ah! Girl, why are you screaming? They're just goodie bags. Inside, there's nothing but party favor bags for everyone. Oh, thank you. But now we have to go. When they get to the door, bam! Owen breaks in. Ah! What's going on? Oh, it's just an emergency with our dog. It's sick with cancer. Oh, I'm sorry. No worries, but we gotta go. Bye! Owen, Nella, and Malika rush out. Hazel and her girls look defeated. On the train ride home, Malika tells Owen her cult theory, and Nella shows them both the manila envelope that she found. Back at Hazel's, she tells the girls to cheer up and worry about Nella later because they still have a reason to celebrate. There is one more girl joining the crew. In the door walks in mysterious girl / Shawnee. And she's smiling and she has a new hairdo. It's a shoulder-length bob, which is so much better than that terrible wig I was telling you about. Anyways, and she seems friendly and happy, and she even brought lattes for everyone. So, I guess a new hairdo seems to be the first sign that they have joined the cult. Anyways, that's the end of episode 7. If you're ready, let's continue to episode 8. Episode 8 begins with Nella not being able to sleep due to all the thoughts running through her mind. So she just gets up and she makes a detective wall in her house. You know, like in the movies where the guy solving the crime has all the pictures and documents and evidence, and he has like strings making like connections between all the documents and pictures and stuff, and there's like a wall of it. Yeah, so she makes a wall of that in her house. And she makes a wall dedicated to all the suspicious stuff she can think of since meeting Hazel. The next morning, Nella, Owen, and Malika look over the wall that Nella made, and they're trying to find the connection with all the girls in Hazel's cult. They find the connection. It's Wagner. Every company that the girls work for, Wagner is somehow connected to it. Either he invested in the company, he published for them, or he's related to someone high in ranking within the company. They conclude that Wagner is using Hazel to recruit black women and turn them into cult robots. Meanwhile, at Wagner Books, Wagner notices that Hazel isn't there. Wagner notices that Nella isn't there, and he puts Hazel on task of finding out where she is. Shortly after, Hazel knocks on Nella's door. Nella, Owen, and Malika are stunned to silence. Nella! Knock, 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 knock. It's me, Hazel. I heard you called in sick, so I brought you some chicken noodle soup. Owen answers. Oh, Hazel, how about you just leave it at the door because, we're very contagious in here. No, I don't want to attract ants. Just open the door. Owen leaves the chain on the door and opens it so there's only a crack in the door. Here, just slide it through. I don't want you to catch this cold. I don't think it will fit through that tiny crack. Owen pulls the plastic bowl hard through the crack in the door. Ugh! See? I told you it fit. Bye! Wait! Owen, I just wanted to say, I hope Nella doesn't miss the imprint launch party tomorrow because it's going to be her big moment. Okay, cool, bye. So, a little while after that, Nella goes to Jessie, her favorite podcaster, she goes to him with her theories on Wagner. And Jesse doesn't think she's crazy. In fact, to Nella's surprise, he's even nice enough to agree to let Nella come onto his platform to go public about it once she uncovers everything. He says, let's get it. I'm happy you finally woke the F up. And I apologize if I was too real before. Not real, you were mean. Side note, good for her, because I hate it when people say hurtful things and try to pass it off as being real. No, you're being just rude. You can say things nicely. But anyway, no, you weren't being real. You were being mean. He chuckles and accepts it. Then, as they're just sitting there in the coffee shop talking, the camera pans. And as they're talking, there's a girl eavesdropping on their conversation. It's Mysterious Girl, Shawnee. The next day, Nella decides to go to the imprint launch party that Hazel was talking about through the door crack. Malika and Owen are confused as to why she'd go. But she says she felt the need to save Diana from Hazel before leaving because she's the one who initiated them working together in the first place. Before Nella walks out the door for the party, her boss, her old boss, Vera, calls her. Because Vera, she's been doing a lot of soul searching, and she just called to say congrats and that she was sorry. And she advises Nella to never give her all to a job because that's time that she can't get back. That phone call from Vera gives Malika the idea to get info out of Vera since Vera knew Wagner so well. So, while Nella goes to the party, Malika secretly goes to Vera's place asking for any dirt on Wagner. Back at the imprint party, in the restroom, Nella tells Diana about her theories on Wagner. Wagner and Hazel are working together, turning black women into corporate robots. I don't know how, but they're after me. And I believe they were once after your partner, Kendra. And that's what sent her over the edge, and soon they might come for you. I believe you, Nella. I always knew something strange was going on with Wagner and Kendra. That's why I left. I should have listened to Kendra's warnings. It's not your fault. Don't worry. I have a plan. No. Don't do your plan right now. Not tonight. It's not safe. Let's just fake it and play along tonight, okay? Yeah, okay. They leave the restroom just in time to hear Wagner give his speech about how proud he is of the re-release of Burning Heart, and he invites Diana on stage with him. And she goes onto the stage, smiling politely. Wagner continues on with his speech, stating that Wagner Books will have a new image with new voices. One of those voices are here with us tonight. Let's hear it for our first signee, Jesse. Jesse walks out onto the stage with a complete makeover and a haircut. He's speaking like a corporate robot. Jesse makes a speech. You know, I can't find another company that is just more in tune with my true values like Wagner. And thank you, Nella, for helping me see the light. After the speech, Hazel approaches Nella, whispering, "Girl, I gotta warn you about something as a friend. You are not my friend. You're Wagner's puppet." Ha! Wow. You really think Wagner's in charge? Just then, Wagner invites them both on stage, and Hazel drags Nella with her. Nella breaks free and tries to run, but then Diana blocks her, smirking. "What? Diana? It's you? It's you who's in charge?" "It's time for your big moment." Diana turns Nella around and walks her onto the stage. Back at Vera's place, after trying to find dirt on Wagner all night and failing, Malika gives up. But just then, Vera mentions how Diana was Wagner's mistress. Malika runs out of Vera's place. She's running on foot to Nella's party and calling her at the same time, leaving voicemails like, "Nella, do not try and save Diana. She's in on it. Get the heck out of there." Next, Malika tries calling Owen. "Hello? Owen, have you heard from Nella?" Then, bam! Malika is hit by a car in an alleyway. It's a hit and run. "Hello? Hello, Malika? Are you there?" Driving the car that hit Malika is mysterious girl Shawnee. It drives off. Back at the party, Hazel starts off their speech by mentioning how her and Nella are basically sisters, and then she passes the mic to Nella. Nella goes off. "You're a lunatic. We're not effing sisters. You tried to ruin my career 2 seconds after meeting me. What planet is this? You're crazy. Look at Jesse. He's like a robot. This is what they're doing to people. And Kendra, don't you guys see it?" The crowd looks at Nella like she's nuts. "Oh my God, they made me look like the crazy one." She runs off. Once outside, she tries to make a call. And then she's kidnapped into a van that speeds off. And that is the end of episode 8. If you're ready, let's continue to episode 9. In episode 9, the entire episode is a flashback. The episode begins in a flashback to just a few years ago, in 2019 in Boston. Hazel is at a job interview. It's for a review company. Hazel, whose hair before was in locks, it isn't in locks yet, but instead it's straight down with bangs. Hazel, whose name isn't Hazel or Eva, but instead is Chantel. The interviewer says, "Chantel, you are an impressive writer, but the editorial assistant position requires a college degree." "Well, I have to take care of my paralyzed mom. I'm working at a bar and grill anytime I'm not doing that, but I'm a really hard worker. I've gotten Employee of the Month 4 times in a row. If you hire me, I can hire a caretaker so I can be here anytime you need me. Please, just don't disregard me because I didn't have the right opportunities. Sorry. You could try and apply for one of our unpaid internships. So that's a no. After the interview, Nella spends some time with her mom before going into work. And we find out that Hazel also has a younger brother. Then, after she goes to work, Nella goes to this thing at Harvard University to hear Diana speak. Diana asks if anyone has any questions. And of course, Hazel does. This snobby girl keeps picking on Hazel because she can tell that Hazel isn't a student at Harvard. Hazel finally gets frustrated with this girl picking on her and says, "Will you just back the freak off?" Everyone gasps, and Hazel scurries off. At the end of the night, Diana finds Hazel crying in the bookshelves. "Look, I don't go to Harvard. I lied to get in because I really wanted to see you, and I didn't mean to go off on that girl. It's just, I have so much going on, and my dad died, and I have to take care of my disabled mom, and life is just too much." Diana tells her, "I created this sisterhood with the brightest black women I know. The Boston chapter of that sisterhood is having a dinner tomorrow, and I want you to join us." Hazel agrees, and when Hazel gets to the dinner, all the girls, they're about her age, and they are so nice. At the dinner table, Diana goes to each of the girls, one by one, asking them what they want. And they say things like getting into their choice of medical school and running for Congress. Then Diana massages grease into each of their heads before moving on to the next girl. Hazel looks confused. Last but not least, Chantel. Chantel is Hazel, but she's not going by Hazel yet, obviously. "Chantel, what is it that you want?" She actually doesn't say anything specific. She just makes a heartfelt speech about wanting to feel worthy and accepted and free. And then Diana rubs grease into Hazel or Chantel's into her head. And it stings a little. Next, we jump to the year 2021. Hazel now has blonde in her hair. Diana visits her. "Diana, are there side effects with this grease? Because my head felt like it was on fire a few minutes ago, and my memory is going too." Diana excuses it off with a lovely speech and hands Hazel an envelope, letting her know that her name will now be Eva, along with a new resume for her interview tomorrow. Hazel has an interview with the same woman who turned her down 2 years ago. The lady doesn't even recognize her. She is really impressed with Eva's credentials, and she hires her. When Hazel or Eva or Chantel, I'm sorry it's confusing, but when Hazel starts work, She sits right across from mysterious girl, Shawnee. And Shawnee at this time, her hair, she's rocking the most adorable natural curls. Shawnee is very helpful to Hazel, and she's helping Hazel understand the computer system and so on. Thanks so much, Shawnee. No problem. We gotta look out for each other, right? After work, they go for drinks, and Shawnee fills Hazel in on all the office tea. Shawnee asks Hazel how she manages to be so unbothered. And Hazel pushes hard for Shawnee to use the hair grease. It weirds Shawnee out, so she tells Hazel to leave her alone and leaves. So, once Shawnee leaves, Hazel picks up the phone and calls Diana to report to her what happened with Shawnee. Diana says that she will take care of it. The next day, Shawnee walks into work and she gets fired. Not only that, she gets kicked out of her place. Not only that, she gets violently attacked, which causes that scar that they were talking about. Hazel tells Diana that she is very upset about what happened with Shawnee. Diana replies with, well, what happened with Shawnee is your fault. She should have been a very easy recruit. But whatever. The next girl that you're recruiting is in Syracuse. Hazel shouts, no! But eventually, Hazel comes crawling back to Diana. This time, Diana is going to make Hazel prove to her that she is ready. And Hazel starts recruiting girls left and right. These are all the girls who were at Hazel's hair care party, and all the girls who had Hazel had papers on. You remember the papers that Nella found in the manila envelope? So these are all those girls. Diana tells Hazel that recruiting all of these girls will prepare her for the most important recruit that she will ever get. Nella. All the other recruits were already themselves climbing the corporate ladder, but Diana had to create an image for Hazel. But if Hazel could recruit Nella, then Diana would make it so that Hazel could keep the false image for real, for life, and be free. Hazel agrees. And that is the end of episode 9. If you're ready, let's continue to the final episode, episode 10. Episode 10 begins with Nella tied up in some dingy warehouse. Diana and girls from her sisterhood surround her. Diana speaks. Nella, here's the deal. The greatest minds in my sisterhood have been working on a help book for blacks. They've been working on it for years, and it's going to be huge. We're going to slap Jesse's name on it and credit you as editor. This will make everything you said you wanted a reality. Nella replies, Diana, F you. The girls hold Nella still, and Diana tells Hazel to apply the grease. Then, zap! Kendra, older and with a haircut, tases the girls and sets Nella free. You're not dead? No. Now follow me. After Nella is rescued, she goes to the hospital to see Malika, who is only in there because she was trying to save Nella. Kendra warns Nella that things like this will just keep happening until she runs away and stays in hiding like her. Malika tells Nella not to run from anyone, but instead stay and fight for the Jessie book not to get published. Wagner, Diana, and Hazel are in Wagner's office, and Wagner says, "We don't even need Nella now." Diana replies, "You're right, but we can't have her mess everything up either. I guess we'll have to do to her the same thing we did to Shawnee." Hazel interrupts. "No! No, that won't be necessary. I'll make sure that she comes around." Good, because if Nella isn't greased by the end of the day, the Hazel character is no longer needed either. Later, Nella, Owen, and Malika are at Nella's place brainstorming on how to cancel Jessie's book. Then, knock, 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 Vera is at the door. She's there with wine and garlic knots because she heard that Nella was placed on leave. They ask Vera, Vera, hypothetically speaking here, how would you go about getting a book canceled? Vera says, by burying a sensitivity read that states that the author is a racist? That's brilliant! That's brilliant! We get the author canceled by taking his credibility, thus turning his followers against him. Oh, that's genius! Thanks, Vera. Bye. Thanks for the wine and the garlic knots. If they leak the book before Wagner can do a PR spin on Jessie, his followers will see him as a sellout and bail. So, Nella sneaks into Wagner Books and downloads the book. On her way out, she accidentally cuts herself. Then, after she cuts herself, she calmly goes into the restroom and cleans her cut. Why she would risk getting caught when she could have just cleaned the cut when she got home, I don't know, but this is a TV show, so let's just roll with it. So, in the restroom, while Nella is taking her dear time, patiently and calmly cleaning her cut, Hazel walks in. Nella, please understand that I truly am your friend. You're so eager to stop Jessie's book that you're willing to throw your whole life away? What, like Kendra did? Playing the game is the only way we can win in a system that is stacked against us. At least the sisterhood makes it not hurt so much. Hazel doesn't force anything. She just leaves the jar of hair grease on the counter for Nella to decide on her own, and she walks away. Next, there is another flashback scene of Kendra. It's when they're younger, and Diana shows up to her place with food and wine to make up for Kendra being upset about the ending of the book changing. After Kendra loosens up, Diana says, let me do your hair for old time's sake. Kendra agrees, and Diana rubs grease. She rubs grease on what clearly is a wig. I tell you, the wig department for this show, I mean, they are really skating on thin ice. Like I said earlier, when you grease someone's scalp, you part the hair, and you put some grease right on the scalp. In this scene, she parts the hair, but there's no part there because it's clearly a wig. So she just kind of plops the grease on top of hair and rubs it into hair. And to make it worse, I mean, they could have at least kind of zoomed out for this scene. To make it worse, the camera zooms in to how terrible this wig scene is. But, okay, I digress. Just the wig department. Who child? Anyways, so Diana greases Kendra's scalp. After getting her scalp greased, Kendra's hearing starts to fade, and she hears eerie sounds. She seems in great pain, and then she shakes it off and snaps out of it. Even though technically nothing should have happened because nothing even touched her scalp because it was all a wig, a very terrible wig. But anyway, okay. Next, we're back at present day at Wagner Books. Everyone is in the conference room. They're celebrating Jesse's new book. Just as Wagner raises a toast, Nella announces herself from behind him. I didn't mention this before, but Nella always wore a small afro, like a small fro. But now, she's wearing straight hair all the way down her back. And honestly, I didn't even recognize her at first. I'm like, who is this character? Who is she? Who's she supposed to be? I honestly, for a second, I thought it was Nicki Minaj. For a split second, I honestly thought it was Nicki. Anyways, it's Nella. And Wagner continues. A toast to Jesse and to Nella, our newest senior editor. Diana talks to Nella after the toast. Vera's old office is cleared out just for you. By the way, I love your hair. You must be using a new product. I am, and I feel so much more in control. Then Hazel talks to Nella. Hey girl, I'm so glad you're back, and we're finally real friends. Nella replies, yeah, totally. Next, we see Jesse waiting outside for an Uber that he just ordered. But when he gets in his Uber, Malika is already inside. She tases him. And Kendra, who's in the driver's seat, drives off. While alone in her new office, Nella makes a phone call. I'm in. Now, let's burn it down. And that is the end of season 1 of The Other Black Girl. Hopefully, there will be a season 2 so we can continue. Overall, I really did enjoy this first season of The Other Black Girl. However, I do have some questions though, so you let me know your theories in the comments. But my first question would be, what was the role of the hair grease? Like, at first I thought, oh, once you put it on, it's like mind control and you're no longer in control of your body. But that can't be the case because they put it on to Kendra's scalp and she broke free. And so I thought maybe it's like it takes a while for it to completely control you. But that can't be the case either, because if you remember, Hazel was using it for a long while. She was using it that entire time she was at her first job. And she just easily quit and said, "Oh, I'm not doing it anymore." So it can't be mind control if Hazel was using it that whole time and then decided on her own that she's just not going to use it anymore. So, what is the point of the hair grease? What does it actually do? It can't be something that makes you more smarter, because if you remember, all the girls who were in the sisterhood were already very intelligent and already climbing the corporate ladder. So, it's not like, oh, it makes you smarter so you can compete in the corporate world. Because also, if you remember, Malika's girlfriend, who was kind of nuts in the head, she put the grease on and she still remained nuts in the head. So it's not mind control, it's not making you smarter. What is the point of this hair grease? You let me know your thoughts and theories down below. And also, let me know your theories on what do you think is going to happen with season 2. Let's all become our own writers, like Nella. See, Nella already downloaded the book, right? So she could just cancel the book. Why did she feel the need to kidnap Jesse? Because they were going to ruin Jesse's image. Unless Nella probably, because Jesse was her favorite podcaster, so maybe she got a weak heart and didn't want to ruin his image. So she kidnapped him, and maybe they're going to make him come back to his old ways and form a superpower group against Wagner. I don't know. What do you think they're doing with Jesse? But anyways, overall, I really did enjoy the show, The Other Black Girl. The only thing, okay, as an actress, I can tell you that the acting was top tier. The actresses, the actors did a phenomenal job. You already know I have a problem with the wig department. Other than that, I also had a little bit of issue with casting. Some of the characters didn't look like their younger selves. Like Diana, the younger version of Diana looked nothing like the Diana today. And then Kendra, the older Kendra that came out and tased when, we found out that Kendra wasn't actually dead. She looked nothing like the younger Kendra at all. The casting department did great on selecting great actors. It just, sometimes they didn't look like the person they were supposed to be playing, like earlier in life or later in life. And obviously the wig department. Other than that, this show was very well written. I can't wait for season 2. So that lets you know that those two little things that I did notice mean nothing, because I still want to see season 2. And yeah, it was great. And also, this is my first time ever doing a review, so let me know if you liked it. And please don't be mean, because this is my first time doing a review. And if you do like this review, then let me tell you. Let me know, because Hulu just released another series that when I saw that they were doing this series, my inner child lit up. And I got so excited and I couldn't wait for it to air. And you probably already know what it is. It's Goosebumps. So let me know, and I would do a review on Goosebumps. Bye.